Well, here we are, back for more A Crown of Swords as we work through this book, this really big book. And I have no idea how many episodes this will take, but we're going to call this part two.
Part 2 of Some. So hi there! Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and talk about a fantasy book. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. Thanks for joining us again for one of our Wheel of Time deep dive episodes. It's fun to be on a new book. We took forever on Lord of Chaos. So this is
felt
great.
like forever.
It did, you know.
It was long.
Now, A Crown of Swords. And we don't know how long this will take, but we're going to continue to have fun talking about this great story. And today, our second episode. What you drinking today, Zach? I saw something come up.
I've just got some cola. I've already had my coffee, but it's still pre-work, so I'm not drinking anything like that.
That makes sense. I'm still 2 hours earlier than you, different time zone, so I'm still drinking coffee. This is my second cup for the day. I usually do
Fair
too.
enough.
Yeah. Anything interesting to comment on before we dive into the content?
Not really.
Okay. Still enjoying all the people who are finding us on YouTube. Our numbers keep growing. There's a funny thing, though. I'm also watching how much our viewing hours increases. More subscribers come in. It's great. Watch our content, people, because our viewing hours went down one today. Just one.
That's not a whole lot.
That's not a whole lot. But, you're hoping the hours grow. And no, not this time. They went down one. If you don't know it, people, YouTube tracks your hours specifically in a chunk of over the last 365 days. That's what I'm viewing. So when one day drops off, it adds the new day on and keeps shifting the number and tells you how many actual viewing hours people spent on your content in that period of time. Usually it goes up each day because people weren't watching our channel as much a year ago. But this must have been a good day that dropped off this time, I guess, since we crept back one.
Now, granted, that being said, if you want to help the channel, feel free, just while you're doing whatever else you're doing in your day, pull up an extra tab, use the tab, and just let it run on the background. Like, that's fine.
Listen to the wisdom of my son. We want you to enjoy
our content, but also if you want to just, like, have that going because you want to do that,
yes.
I'm not going to stop you.
No, that would be great. Okay, enough silliness. Let's get to official silliness and talk about a fantasy book. Yeah, so we'll get through a few chapters here today. We're starting at chapter 3 of The Crown of Swords, which is called Hill of the Golden Dawn.
That sounds so much happier than everything in this book so far.
And it's not going to be really happy, though.
That's unfortunate.
Rand and the group have gone through Gateway to Cairhien. And they didn't, magically appear right in the city. They're outside the city.
Okay. Well, that's good. Don't want to bisect any buildings or anything.
Right. And Rand's kind of sensitive about that sort of thing.
And they've got a lot of people to bring through if they're bringing everybody.
It is a good crowd. He's here. Perrin's here. His Aiel are here. This group has come. He's got his new Ashaman security force with him as well. And speaking of them, we have a chance here to start to learn more about these men of the Black Tower, because there will be some conversation going on. Rand chatting with them asking questions. We in particular get to learn a little bit about Finn and Grady and Dashiva here. And Dashiva's weird. He gives weird vibes right away. They learn that while Rand was gone, they learn this from a wise one who comes up to them, that many of the Aiel gave way to the bleakness and wandered off while Rand was just poof, gone.
Well, that's unfortunate, especially if they end up giving way to the bleakness and deciding to join that little contingent of Shido that we saw get away.
That would be bad. But it's clear the Aiel really do depend on the Dragon Reborn. Well, they don't think of him as that. As the Karakarn, they really rely on his presence. They draw strength from him, from being with him. Being away from him, when they don't know what's happened to him, turns out not to be good. We also learn from this wise one that Colivir Saigon made a power move in his absence and has been crowned the queen, and apparently murdered off two of the others who might have been in her way. Perrin starts fretting over this because he left Fail here. She may be in danger. What's happened to her while he's been gone?
Maybe, but Perrin, Fail's probably fine.
He's particularly set off in this stress because he sees Bane and Chiad here now, outside the city. Why aren't they with Fail, is what he's thinking. He seems to lose his stuff when he worries about Fail. That could be foreshadowing. Just saying. And
Anyway.
There's also a rumor of noble. Well, it's not a rumor. Information of nobles aside from Colivir, other nobles meeting in secret outside of Cairhien, potentially meeting to conspire against Rand. So he's got Colivir, who's clearly just taken over despite Rand's wishes, and then another group that's also making plans.
So there's one group he has to deal with right now, and another group that he'll probably have to deal with before too long.
Mm-hmm. Rand doesn't seem to be inspiring people to follow him here in Cairhien. Could that be part of the problem?
Maybe part of it. But he's also, got bigger issues than some petty nobles.
Yeah.
Getting stolen in a box isn't really his fault.
But, if he had been able to truly build up loyalty, fealty, love for him, wouldn't they have, perhaps behaved a little better in his absence?
You would think maybe, but that also ignores everything we know about the Cairhienin, which means they're not going to build up loyalty, love, any of that. Maybe they will. It's still not going to stop them from playing their games and trying to get their own position. It's just not who they are.
It's kind of how they're raised. From birth, they strive to advance themselves at the expense of others.
And so really trying to get them to just completely change everything about them and go with what his new way of things and plan is an impossible task. You're not going to get it, at least not the way that you want.
Yeah, it's just not how they're wired.
And to be fair, you can't force people to love and respect you. It kind of goes against the ideas of loving and respecting.
But apparently with the Cairhienins, you can't inspire them to love and respect you either. All you can do is bully them.
If you talk to the Aiel, you can kill them all.
Oh,
start over.
That's a good point. Yeah. Now, we should be clear. This is not all Cairhienins. They don't all suck.
Just the majority of their nobility.
Yeah. All right, that's chapter 3. That's what he's found. And as you said, he's going to have to deal with this stuff. He's got 2 different groups that are going to need his attention. And we're going to see it's the first group, Colivir, Queen Colivir, that's going to be attracting his attention.
Yeah, so let's get into Cairhien.
Let's do that. That's how Perrin feels. Let's get into Cairhien, people, because he's stressing about Fail. So that's chapter 4, called Into Cairhien. Perrin is really worked up. He's got to find Fail. He's got to make sure she's okay. He is a worrywart. He seems to forget she's a very competent woman on her own. She was a hunter for the Horn, for goodness sake. She doesn't need him to save her, but that's how he is.
That being said, regardless of competency, you want your loved ones to worry about you a little bit, especially if you're in a dangerous situation. Him being so worried that she can't take care of herself, that's red flag. Him being worried, green flag.
Yeah, well, he's overdoing it a bit. So
Correct.
Much so that everybody around him is getting a little frustrated with him. Even Loyal speaks up. Perrin, I'm sure she's okay. And in trying to ease his concerns, he actually ends up talking about Aerith, the Ogier that he has pledged to marry. And it comes out of his mouth. This is the first time we hear something like this. It comes out of his mouth that he's looking forward to marrying Aerith. And then he's like, what did I just say? And then he blames Perrin and Rand for making him say that, being all Taviran.
Taviran.
It was very funny. You could just, he's so focused on just helping ease Perrin's concerns. And then it's like, I love a good loyal moment. As they then actually approach the city itself, one thing Perrin notes is this drought that's ongoing is really showing more and more. Because outside of Cairhien is the Foregate, if you remember. Remind us what the Foregate area is.
The extra part of town that isn't part of town that has a little less legal jurisdiction and oversight, but also therefore is full of the bars and taverns and various fun festivities.
Yes, the fun places. And they look terrible. Everything is so dry. I mean, the stuff could go up like that with a match. This is not good. It's just reminding us that this weather circumstance, which we're pretty sure is a result of the Dark One, not just a natural occurrence at this point, something's going to need to get done because this is getting horrific. Rand's Ashaman escort them quietly into the city. Rand's kind of, wanting to slip in, not make a big to-do at first. They're thinking that if they make a big ruckus, it could actually blow up bigger than they want. Instead, let's slip in quiet to try to solve this stuff. And getting into the palace, one of the people they find is Salanda. Now, she's a Chafail, one of those people who have been imitating the Aiel and, taking Ruark off. We talked about that in the past because they're not Aiel. They're Cairhienans, but they're emulating the Aiel. Anyways, this one gives some information to Perrin about what happened to Fail. So finally, somebody can tell him.
Oh, good. Is
And
she
she's
dead?
fine, right?
Oh, she's not dead. Cool.
She's serving as an attendant to Queen Colavir.
Which, seems dangerous, but if we also remember that Fayo could take care of herself, seems dangerous for Colavir.
We also get confirmation here that Colavir was crowned queen 9 days ago, so she didn't waste any time. And they're still in a period of celebration after the coronation.
Well, time to go crash a party.
And it's a perfect time because the information that's shared is that Colavir and most of the primary nobility are all gathered together right now.
The nobles, save for the ones that might be camped outside town or something.
Exactly. So let's bring on some justice. That's how Rand looks at it, and it moves us right into chapter 5. But anything you want to talk about with chapter 4 before we go on?
I think for the most part, I put my little heckling in there. There is a certain amount of fun little points here with the Aerith stuff. There's a lot to be said and to enjoy about Loyal's continuous, don't be hasty, all these things, but he's also very prone himself to being too fast into things by Ogier standards. And I think that even weighs over into barely knows this person, has just seen them. Yeah, he's promised to be married, but he's smitten.
Yeah, Loyal doth protest too much. Yeah, he's good with her. This is a pairing he is interested in and eager to pursue. He's barely met her.
Yeah.
So,
but it was an arranged marriage anyways.
Yeah.
That was expected.
Okay. All right, well, chapter 5 is called A Broken Crown. And in this one, Rand and his group just slip right into this hall where Colavir and her attendants and all the nobles are holding court, having conversation. He basically goes right up to her and they're like, oh crap, he's back. She expected him never to return.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, in so many words. And she knows she's in trouble, but she
She doubles
doubles down.
down.
She's like, hey, I had every right. I have every right to be on the throne, to be wearing this crown. And he just takes the crown, literally pulls it off her head and melts it, breaks it with sardine. Just
It's like, I
what
am
crown?
queen. The crown is mine. What crown?
Uh-huh. She's like turning to the other people, aren't you gonna help? Aren't you gonna? And nope, everyone's just standing there. And in fact, not only are the others not willing to help,
They're willing to help against her.
yeah, Fail steps forward, revealing, hey, here's the dirt. Okay, she's been, yes, an attendant, but she's basically been there for a spy the whole time, hearing everything Colavir was doing. Colavir had no idea who Fail was, that she was anyone of significance.
Which made her perfectly safe.
Yep. So she spills all the dirt on that and on the queen, and Colavir turns to her Aes Sedai advisor. Rulers have Aes Sedai advisors. And
Sure.
it's Anura Sedai. Anura, we had met previously. She's
Okay.
Berlane's advisor.
Hmm.
Now, Berlane is nowhere in sight right now. And Perrin's an idiot. He hasn't said anything to Fail. He says, where's Berlane? And Fail just wants to stare daggers into his head. It's like, oh, she's who you're going to ask about? You haven't even said a thing to me, but you want to know where Berlane is? Yeah, we'll get back to that.
It's a little bit of a quick little temper thing of Fail, because if she stopped to ask anybody, they'd tell her how annoying Perrin was being about being worried about her.
Right? But anyways, Anura says, hey, I'm not going to help you for two reasons. One, I can't. The Dragon Reborn has shielded me. And he points out, no, I have not.
I've got some other people doing it.
And that's where others realize these men with him can channel. It's like, there's another reason the room starts freaking
weapons
out. But Anura also says, I'm not your advisor, despite what I allowed you to believe. I'm Berlane's advisor. So, yeah, let me tell you more dirt on what she's been up to.
And she can't lie.
No. It is clear Colavir stepped out of line, took advantage of Rand being gone. The fact that she had confidence in him being gone says she had inside information. That doesn't go in her favor.
She also very clearly was not being kind in any way, shape, or form to anyone who really was with or against her in this, including she killed some of her rivals.
Yep.
To do this. But everyone's so willing to just immediately turn on her.
Again, it's in the DNA of the Cairhienians. Ooh, a chance to take someone else down, which means, a chance to raise ourselves up higher. Yeah, that's how they work. Oh, I got to share this. This is in my notes. A typo. Typos are funny sometimes. I have in here that when the crowd realizes the men are channelers, it causes everyone to shake in their books.
Yeah. Every person reading it just,
shaking their boots. One little letter makes such a difference.
I like to think they're wearing books on their feet.
Okay, so Rand has stripped Colavir of the crown, literally, now figuratively as well, and saying, hey, this is not yours. You're done. And she believes she's probably going to be executed.
She probably should be.
Yeah, totally. And in fact, there are those around Rand saying she needs to be killed. Rand has this thing with women.
Especially recently, considering he's been going around finding all the maidens, making a list, all these women who died for him or because of him, and it's weighing on him more and more, and he's not ready to add another name.
Min has even seen a vision of Colavir dead, but Rand does not want to cause that. So he does what he believes will be merciful.
It's not.
Yeah, he strips her of title. She's no longer a noble, takes away all her estates, banishes her to live out her life on a farm. And she passes out.
Yeah.
All the other nobles, they're like horrified. What's the big deal?
This loss of rank, of station, is a stripping of her dignity and identity. It's worse than killing her, because in killing her, she gets to retain what she is, her status, and goes out for her stance, what she believes in, maintains that pride. This is a death in all but actuality,
Yeah.
and therefore worse because you have to go on living through it.
It just leaves herself as a human husk.
And
All that she is and has been is gone.
to go a step further, this mirrors what Elida's done in the tower, stripping people of being an Aes Sedai. And it's that very visceral reaction of, you can do that? Do we all have to worry about that happening?
Yeah, that's what all the nobles are thinking too. Absolutely. Well, we better not put our foot out in the wrong place. One other thing from this chapter that jumped out to me, there's a comment, because this is mostly a Perrin POV chapter as he's seeing these things take place.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're getting Perrin's thoughts, we also get his senses. And he smells things. We've been exploring that over the past couple of books here, and smelling Dashiva smells wrong is what we get. He's thinking the smell he's getting, the scent off of Dashiva is indicating he may be already insane.
Well, that wouldn't be good.
No. We might need to keep an eye on this guy.
That being said, are we being led to believe here that Perrin might be able to smell insanity?
Perhaps. I will say, for those of you that are first-time readers, we maybe need to keep an eye on Dashiva. We're being told
maybe.
this for a reason, I think.
I'm sure it's nothing important.
All right. Anything else you want to say about chapter 5?
Nah.
Don't feel bad for Colavir.
Not at all.
I thought the choice Rand make was like awesome. That's better than killing her. Absolutely.
The only real problem with the choice is that it leaves someone still relatively capable, at least a capable, ambitious mind, in a vengeful position. She may not have power for it. She may not have ability and position. But this is a long enough series. She's being set aside and left to stew. She might come back at a later time that would kick Rand in the ass. Now, that doesn't mean it will happen this time. But there are plenty of characters where we think, yeah, we've dealt with them, but we set them aside and leave them alive to forget about them, and they come back.
But with the Cairhienans in particular, I don't think we have to worry about that, because no one's going to help her. She was on top of the pile and let them all know it. And the fact that she's now at the bottom, everyone's going to love it. No one's going to help her rise. No one's going to do anything.
Within Cairhien. Yeah, you're right.
But potentially outside forces, I don't think they want to use her because she can't help them. She has no power. She has no money. She has nothing.
She does maybe have some level of connection that hasn't been stripped, some secret network that she's going to be able to retain, some information that she has that might be of use, maybe even just about the layout and things of Cairhien that would be used to Agents of Shadow. There are potential things. I'm not saying they are going to be a thing.
All right, people, you've got it from Zach here. Don't leave your enemies alive.
I mean, to some extent, when they do this and they've shown they're totally willing to just kill their rivals, maybe.
Grace and forgiveness, overrated. Zach Scriven.
I'm not going to the extent of kill them all. I am going to the extent of maybe exiling them to a farm isn't as secure and locked down of a prison as you think it is.
All right, let's go on to chapter 6. I think this will be our last chapter for today. This will be a good spot to stop. I enjoyed chapter 6. There's a little entertainment to this one, because it's primarily about Perrin and Fael. They're finally back together. Colavir has been dealt with. Perrin and Fael excuse themselves. They go off to their rooms. They're going to have a conversation. The conversation is primarily about Berlane. And Fael is at the root of things, jealous and worried that Perrin may actually be developing a genuine interest in Berlane. Now, This is not as false concern as you would think, because you got to understand, while Perrin was gone, Berelain and Fail spent a lot of time together, and
Mhm.
Berelain did nothing to ease Fail's concerns. In
No,
fact, she seemed to enjoy torturing Fail just a little bit, and so this has been bugging her, and with Berelain putting fuel on the fire all the time Perrin's been gone.
that being said, it's not Perrin's fault.
You're
He
right.
hasn't done anything wrong, and
So
he doesn't even really conceptualize. He's like, all I've said is no to Bearlane. I love you, Fail. What?
everything that he tries to say to her to ease her concerns, to explain he's been completely faithful, like you said, he has no interest in Berelain. All that does is continue to rile her up even more. It's not settling her concern. She's getting angry. She's getting stressed. He can smell it on her, which is part of his problem. He can smell her too.
It's like he says, yeah, I've said no to all of her advances. And she goes, what do you mean she's been having advances?
It finally gets to the point where Perrin simply gets so frustrated that he yells at her. He gets angry at her ridiculousness. And that finally settles her. I mean, he can smell the difference. He's like, I just shouted at her and she seems content. In fact, she seems a little turned on now. Wait a second, what's going on here? And in fact, the argument's over, and Fail starts getting affectionate. And clearly, it looks like they're about to have makeup sex.
This is not healthy communication.
Oh my goodness. The makeup sex opportunity is interrupted, however, when Rand
Because Robert
barges
Jordan
into
can't
the
write a
room.
sex scene.
Yeah, no. So
If he
Rand,
could, they would have had a sex scene, and then Rand would have barged in.
but that's, yeah, okay, fine. We're not here for that right now. So Rand walks in and he's got stuff to talk with Perrin about. And his primary purpose in coming in here right now is to try to cajole, convince Perrin, once again, to take control of the army that Rand has built pointed at Ilion. They've talked about this before, and Perrin told him, I don't want to do it. He's like, I really would like you to do this. And it's like, I am not your general. Okay, that's not what I do. That's not my role. I'm not doing it. Besides, and now he throws in his trump card. Min had that vision that 2 times you're going to need me by you or everything's going to fail. And do might as wells. I think that was probably one of them. But the other one's still coming. You can't be sending me off to your army by Ilion. That's not going to be a good move. Fine. Okay, so Perrin holds firm and Rand accepts it, but he's not happy.
When in doubt, be stubborn and invoke Min.
Perrin doubles down then on making Rand unhappy by bringing up the Aes Sedai again. Remember, they've been talking about the Aes Sedai in the previous chapters. And what's Perrin's key point concerning the Aes Sedai that are captured?
If I'm remembering correctly, don't abuse them.
Right.
Like, these are, sure, prisoners, but that doesn't mean you do this, that, or whatever. You don't torture them for certain. You don't treat them like less than. They're people. Not all of them are against you.
So don't make it worse. Don't mistreat them. Don't harm them. Don't torture them. Don't kill them. Yeah.
I'm
Don't
not
make
saying you
things.
have to trust them all the way, but like, why are you not trusting them at all?
Perrin tries to get Rand to promise not to hurt the Aes Sedai. Rand won't do it. What he does promise is he won't hurt any Aes Sedai unless they deserve it.
Which is not a great promise
It's
when you get to
obfuscation, man, at high
get to
level.
decide if they deserve it.
Uh-huh. So we're basically going to agree to disagree a little bit on this issue. So fine, you're not going to be my general. Fine, I'm not going to promise not to do things to the Aes Sedai. Nah.
Which is not a fair trade. It's like, you're not going to go off and lead people to go kill people. So I make no promises about whether I torture, kill, maim, or mistreat people. It's like, no, stop saying that you might just like commit an atrocity here or there. Like, oops, teehee.
Now let's clarify a little more. Rand doesn't listen very well. He has plans, and Perrin is a cog in the wheel of the plans, but he's not necessarily gonna listen to all of Perrin's advice. He's just gonna use him as he needs to. Perrin already told him, I need to stay by your side. Rand says, as he gets ready to leave, all right, well, fine. I have another task for you. I'm going to be sending you away. You've got just a few days, and then you're going to be leaving. And off he goes.
And
So you're not going to get to with him.
To Rand. Rand is seeing people, even his friends, not really as people, but as pieces on this game board, as cogs. But it goes deeper than just how he's viewing other people. And it starts with how is he viewing himself. He is viewing himself as this kind of big central cog, this piece that is relatively inescapable. He has this certain fate, but where he has wiggle room and can control what is moving around him, he feels is necessary. And so it starts with his own self-image and then becomes a lot easier to treat other people like they aren't the people that he actually knows and cares about.
Rand has a role to play, and those around him are part of what he gets to use in fulfilling that role.
That doesn't make his treatment of them okay.
No.
It also doesn't, however, make his plans for them wrong.
Now, what exactly is that plan? Well, we're going to have to wait to see. He doesn't tell them where he's sending them. He is going to send him somewhere. There is a cool plan that's going to be put into action here, and we're going to find that out in some chapters ahead of us here. But for now, Rand leaves, and Perrin and Fael pick up where Rand had interrupted them. But because it is the Wheel of Time and Robert Jordan, it just fades to black. We don't emphasize the sex scenes. I mean, there was the one in an igloo, but even that...
Every now and then, it like is there, but then you have to look back at it and go, is that actually a sex scene that's written? Hard to tell. Hard to tell.
Maybe they just cuddled. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on that chapter you want to emphasize?
I think I got my 2 cents in here and there.
Okay. The couple of key takeaways here from this chapter is Perrin is going to be going somewhere else. There's a mission. Okay, that's coming up. But he also has to be by Rand for some key event at some point too. And is Rand going to mess that up by sending Perrin away? To be determined.
Now, I, in my brain, think I know in the future what we might be looking at, what might be coming. I still am not entirely convinced whether or not Dumais Wells is the first time that Perrin's supposed to be there for Rand. Mostly because Perrin didn't actually do a whole lot there.
He didn't, did he? If Perrin hadn't shown up, the Ashaman still would have.
Exactly.
And would have solved things just the way they did. Yeah, you're probably right.
So food for thought. If that isn't the first time, has the first time already happened? Or should we be watching for that too?
Interesting. Okay, I like it. So there you go. A little over half an hour. That's a good spot to stop. You
Short
have to
and
get to
sweet,
work later.
Kind of like a crown of dagger this time. It's not a full sword.
Just a dagger. Well, we broke the crown, so we didn't have space for a full sword today.
A melted crown of swords today.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you have any comments on this, use the comment box. We always respond to the thoughts people share. And if you haven't liked and subscribed, now's the time. Please help us out. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.